Hello, my name is Aidan Marshall-Cort, and this is another series of Manifest here. This series is to help spotlight a lot of Black voices in the community and allow some accessibility to those who may seek it. During this series, I just want to open the conversation up to different Black men in the community and allow for them to kind of tell a bit of their story, a discussion, an idea that they want to share and have it be out there to act as representation for others who are seeking it. For with me today I have Chris. Hey Chris.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good, and how are you, man?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for being a part of my next episode of the Manifest series here. I want to first start off, of course, by just allowing the audience to get a chance to get to know you. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself personally and what you do professionally?
Sure. So I'm Chris McLeod. I've been a person who stutters since I was 3 years old, and I've had an interesting journey that I'm sure can resonate with a lot of folks, and it's been similar to a lot of folks as a Black man who stutters. The thing I do now is that I work as the executive director for marketing and communications for a nonprofit um, that's here in the DC area.
Awesome. How long have you been in that role for?
I have been in the role for 3.5 years now, and I have a team of about 3, 4 people. I say 3, 4 people because there's three that actually direct that report directly to me, and a fourth who actually supports my team, supports me, and somebody else.
So from what it sounds like you're in a leadership role and there's a big piece and foundation of communication needed, correct?
Yes, there is absolutely.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit more on how you manage that as being a person who stutters? How is the experience of having maybe that pressure, or is that expectation upon you to lead others and be an effective communicator?
Yeah, I could tell you when I first started the job, I was super nervous because going back, I actually had in the previous role I was in a role that started in the office and went completely and had gone remote, and it went completely to Zoom. And as you know, a person who stutters going over Zoom is like I can't even describe the just sort of pain, the angst, the anxiety, the frustration, fear, sadness, doing all of that every single day, having to be on Zoom. And so for this role, it actually is actually was also completely remote. So I was going from a role that I was not in a leadership position where I had folks who were reporting to me to my current role where I came in to inherit a department of folks that were already there, and I had to lead them, and it was all remote.
Mm.
So that was very that it gave me a lot of anxiety in doing that. But one of the things that I realized was that I needed to quickly be able to accept that I was a person who stuttered, and not feel that I was trying to present myself as not a person who stuttered, because the more that I tried to do that, or the more that I subconsciously and sometimes consciously, to be honest with you, in the beginning, but the more that I was doing that was actually the more that I was realizing that I was stuttering more,
Mm.
like trying to not stutter, trying to hide it. So one of the first things I did early on in the role was I started telling everybody from this jump that I was a person who stuttered.
Yeah.
Every meeting that I had, every meeting with somebody new in the organization, at times I was in meetings and there were people who had already told I stuttered, but only because there was one new person who didn't hear it. Everybody else had to hear it again. So I was telling everybody and their mama that listen, I'm a person who stutters because I felt like the more that I advertised is the more comfortable I felt. And that actually allowed me to be more fluent and sometimes be okay, and to be more okay with those blocks when they happen.
Yeah, I think what you said is absolutely spot on when it comes to that piece of advertising and disclosing. It's something that is really, really powerful for individuals in the startup community because it allows you to not only take up space, but it gives you the permission to be yourself, to speak how you want to speak, to say what you want to say, and remove all expectation of fluency and that value of fluency too, which I think is very, very powerful. You kind of touched a bit more on that feeling of stress that you had and that internal pressure that you had too. I know that the topic of conversation today is about giving yourself grace. When you think about the term grace or hear the term grace, what does that mean to you personally?
Um, so the thing it means to me personally is to not be so hard on myself.
Hmm.
Um, that is what that means to me. I think as a person who stutters and as a Black man who stutters, I think there are lots of layers that we put on ourselves that a lot of other people don't have. So one, you're carrying this cloak, and I say labels, but it's really cloaks. It's really these cloaks of these cloaks of pressure that
Yeah.
we're carrying the first pressure of being Black in America, and we already know what that is. That itself is like 10 of these episodes, right? Of being like Black in America, right? So we're already carrying that, and then you put on the cloak of pressure of being a Black man, right? And there's things that's associated. There's pressures we have on being Black men where every single time that we step out the door, and sometimes even in our own homes, there's an expectation for us to carry loads, to always be able to show up in every situation at the like as the strongest, as the most capable, as the most competent, as everything. We're always supposed to be the most this or the best that. As that's really the expectation because sometimes society is already trying to discount us. So we fall into that trope of, well, we got to be twice as better, twice as on point, twice as sharp, right? Um, and then now put on the cloak of pressure of being a Black man who stutters,
Yeah.
and now you're carrying. Okay, so now I got the pressure of being Black, I got the pressure of being a Black man, the expectation that comes with that, and now I have a stutter. So now I'm carrying the pressure, trying to show up as perfect as I can to people that I know already have a preconceived notion of who have already prejudged me, and now I have this stutter that I fear will only confirm their prejudices, will only stand in the way of me showing up in the way that I'm defined as of being defined as a real man, right? Because being defined as a man means you're able to carry everything and do everything and be
Yeah.
perfect. That's how we define ourselves as men. So that's what really so Grace says like don't be so hard on yourself. You don't have to be perfect in every situation. You are human. This the things about you are, are perfect for what God's story is for you. What you think is a weakness, what you think is a liability, is actually something that God actually allowed you to have to propel you for what your story is, for what His story is for you. So that's what grace does for me. It reminds me that I have to get out of my own way. Don't be so hard on myself, and allow what it is that sort of God put in me to shine and don't allow those things to hold me back.
It sounds like this is something that you've not only had so much like introspection about, but also just deep personal connection to, not just on the personal level, but also just the spiritual level as well. And I think that you're absolutely right. There's so much dynamics that us as Black men who stutter have to cover. So much expectation, so much preconceived notions, so much things that we have to kind of manage. And it's so multifaceted that it gets really complex at this point. I want to touch on a bit more about that home piece too as well, since we've talked a bit about the social and the professional aspect. Can you tell us a bit more about the home life per se? I know that you are a father and have a family. How is that being had at a house been affected too by these dynamics as well?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. This is, yeah, this is so layered in the sense where I've had to, I've had to, I've had to, I've had to express giving myself grace in how I show up even at home, where where like, with the pressures of being a dad and a husband and head of household, right? Like every single day, there's this expectation. Every single day, everybody under this roof is expecting me to perform at a certain kind of level at any time, at any place, and the utmost level. The reality is that I can't do that and still and still have a good good well-being and good wellness, right? That means I'm just constantly giving in all these different areas of my life, including home, and I'm just drained. I
Yeah.
experienced that. I experienced that. I experienced the pressure of that. I experienced the aftermath of that. So giving myself grace in how I express that is even with home is that I've learned the power of I've learned the power of no, not right now.
Yeah.
Maybe, like I've learned the power of that. And but the reason why I say the power of that is because it's important for us as Black men to realize that saying no to something, or that I can't do something, or that I can't do something right now, or I need help doing this is not uh, is not an expression of us not being worthy, or us not being valuable, or us not being like capable. It's us actually being transparent.
Hmm.
And that's what I think is really important showing up at home, is being transparent, like with those in your household and your loved ones. Being
Yeah.
transparent and say, listen, I know you need me to do this, or I know you expect me to do this today. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
I just can't do it today.
Yeah.
And that's still okay. I'm still, I still love you. I'm still, I'm still going to show up in all the ways that I can. But in this moment, at this time, right here, I can't, and I'll try to do it in an hour. I'll try to do it tomorrow, or maybe we can get somebody else to do it. Maybe I'll call I'll call Thumbtack or some other app to come install this, install this thing. Like I I really think that's what it means.
I think that's a really good kind of point that you're making here is that really the overexertion that we have from life, like the pressures are just always on us all the time. And we never really want to take those things home and have it affect those that we love. But just that open, honest communication and honestly, the power of vulnerability too, of just saying, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. Like, we can only give our best sometimes. Relationships, for example, aren't always 50-50. Sometimes they're 70-30 one way or the other in this case. And I think that when it comes to that giving yourself grace as well is just knowing when to accept and admit that you just need a moment. You just need a break too. Can you touch a bit more on what it kind of looks like when it means to give yourself grace on a daily basis or in tough times, especially when those internal pressures are quite heavy. You can touch more on like the spiritual aspect, anything else that kind of helps you really ground yourself, things in those regards. I'm really curious, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I actually have started to be very intentional about practicing gratitude and reflection
Hmm.
every
Yeah.
single day. I do that every night. I do that every evening where I go out on my deck. I love the evening time because it's quiet, everyone's going to sleep, and I'm just able to really to reflect on the day, to reflect on life, and really practice gratitude, to look back and see all of the things that I've been able to accomplish and do, even with the pressures and the anxieties and things that I feared would actually get in my way, or things that I felt held me back, that might hold me back. That I realized that a lot of what our pressure comes from is self-induced,
Hmm.
and it's also rooted in a fear
Hmm.
of failure, right? We put pressures on ourselves to be perfect
Yeah.
because we were afraid of what it looks like to fail and what that could mean. But if I look back on my life to where I've gotten to this point, I realize that I've been able to still accomplish a lot and I'm still here. And
Yeah.
life is better now than it was before.
Yeah.
So that's how that shows up for me. And how I practice grace every day to say, it's okay if you're not perfect because you haven't been perfect for 40 plus years and you've still been able to do this and you've still been able to build a career. You've still been able to have a family. You've still been able to have an impact on people. So that's something that I think is really important. The time I the way that practicing grace every day looks like for me. It starts with gratitude and reflection, and allows me to not be so critical of where I am right now because I'm afraid of failure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very, very well spoken. Starting from the basics, the foundations of things, of what you can do actively in regards to a reflection of your own life, I think is extremely important. It sounds absolutely wonderful and beautiful to hear, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening can also like learn from that too. When it comes to that audience aspect, is there any sort of message or takeaway that you'd want other Black men to hear or just take away from your story?
Yeah, I would say, if there's anything I want to say to Black men, is something that I often say that has become kind of a refrain for me, is that God was not and is not surprised by your stutter.
Hmm.
God's plan for your life before you were even born included included your stutter. It included all of the things that you feel are like a hindrance. All the things you feel are a liability, a disability, a weakness. His great plan for our lives included all of this.
Yeah.
We should not and we should give ourselves grace and not feel that we have to be perfect and carry everything on our shoulders every single day, every single minute of every day. That actually has led to a high mortality rate for us.
Hmm.
And I believe a lot of that is due to of us feeling we have to be perfect and putting added stress on ourselves. So give yourself grace. It is okay. You don't have to be perfect to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect to have a perfect story in God's plan for your life.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Man, that is powerful. It is a big it's an important part to understand that like especially with the spirituality aspect too. It's a huge fundamental for a lot of pe people in life. And when it comes to that aspect of having a stutter and being a black person who stutters at that, there's so much going against you that it feels like all the time that you may just like be at low points constantly, be at points where you're always kind of questioning things, always kind of like doubting yourself in those regards. And starting from that spirituality is a really big fundamental piece of who you are as a human being too. I just want to say that was absolutely beautifully well said there. And Chris, my last question I wanted to ask you actually is, with all that you have going on in life right now, after kind of hearing more about your journey, what's next for you moving forward in life? You can kind of talk about anything in regards to maybe something you're looking forward to, a challenge that you're like kind of like been pondering on for some period of time. Yeah, we're kind of curious to know like what is something that is happening next in Chris's life.
Mm. Um, this is a great question because it is something that I think is also important for Black men to hear, especially Black men who stutter on a and and uh, professional level. I have really started to ask myself, what is it that I want to go? What is it that I want to do that really fills my cup, both personally and professionally? And not going after things based on maybe deep-seated fears or anxieties about my stutter or something like that, but not thinking about my stutter, not thinking about anything that holds me back or makes me fearful. What are the things that really fill my cup? What are the things that I what are those moments in life that I felt that I was doing exactly what God put me on earth to do? The first time I felt that, Aiden, is the first time I spoke at NSA 3 years ago.
Yeah.
The time I did my session stuttering while black, that was the first time in my life that I felt that I was doing exactly what I was put on this earth to do.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how God designs it, right?
Yeah.
Me being a person who studied since three, going through all of the anxieties and experiences in my life
Yeah.
led to that moment where all those things that I had gone through made me perfectly qualified for
Yep.
that moment in that audience to speak to folks in our community, to speak as someone who has lived it amongst people who also live it, to inspire and impact people. That's the first time. So because of that, what I have now been pursuing as my next is wanting to be more of a speaker.
Yeah.
Ironically, be more of a speaker to really like inspire and impact people, um, and not only people who stutter, not only black men who stutter, black people who stutter, but just people, but also expanding those rings,
Yeah.
because that's something that I'm very passionate about. That fills my cup. Doing this fills my cup, right?
Yeah.
So what's next for me is exploring and praying for God to continue to open doors like this for me to actually speak more, and then perhaps even adding on doing some coaching as well, because I love to really I my one of my superpowers is really connecting, to people on a personal level, to really get that personal one-on-one, the inspiration and impact. So that's really what's next for me, is really going after what's in my heart and not putting the filter of my anxiety or the fear of my stutter on my dreams.
Yeah.
Don't put any filter on your dreams of what you want to go after.
Well, this is exactly why I love this question for one, because you kind of just hit the nail on the head of being a person who stutters, just in general. Speaking is one of the most fundamental aspects of being a human, that communication, that connection, that drive. But we are ingrained to have these experiences that make us afraid of it, that make us want to avoid it, that make us want to find these escape behaviors and things in those regards. And what's funny is that your journey has brought you to this place where you're fulfilled by speaking. You're fulfilled by that human connection.
It's true, true.
And it's like, wow, like like we have these like habits in our development and growth where like, man, talking is hard. And then through our journey, we're just like, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to connect to people. This is how I want to grow and shine and like allow people to feel that sense of euphoria and like that connection is through the power of your voice, Chris. And that's a beautiful thing to hear and a wonderful message to end off on. Chris,
Appreciate you. Thank you for that.
I just want to say thank you so much for your time and being a guest on my next episode of Manifest. It really was wonderful having you.
All right, and I appreciate the invitation, and please, I would love to come back anytime.
Yes, thank you so much.